Boredom is something that most people run away from. And I was sharing why it's important for you to embrace boredom in your life. Boredom is good for you. It's good for your mental clarity. It's good for your creativity. It's good for your imagination. It's good to help you to rest and relax. It's good for you to embrace boredom because it helps you to think critically and find solutions to some of the problems that you've been dealing with for a while. It's against public opinion because a lot of people will think that, oh, you always have to have something to do. So for some people, your life is like this. So you're consistently in motion. You're consistently moving. You always have an event to go to. You always have a friend to talk to. Your phone is always ringing. You're always texting people. You are just overly stimulating your mind. If you don't learn how to sit with yourself and have nothing to do, so that's why the monks call something meditation. So I define meditation as self-reflection and introspection, and also seeking answers from within. When you are bored, aka when you have nothing to do, having leisure time, being idle, what it does to your brain is it begins to make you think. And a lot of people, a lot of us are scared of thinking. Some people are so scared of the thoughts that come to mind because when you don't have anything to do, you begin to see things clearly. And sometimes that clarity is scary because you come face to face with reality. All of a sudden, you remember that you haven't been working hard enough. All of a sudden, you remember that you needed to have done something that you forgot to do or you didn't do. All of a sudden, you remember that you're not really working your gifts and your talents and you're sleeping on yourself. And that scares you. But it's a good thing. It really is a good thing. One of the things that boredom does for me, and I like to talk about me before I extend it to other people, your creativity and your imagination is hiding under the rubble of you being consistently active. If you don't stop yourself and allow yourself to have nothing to do, you will never be creative. You will never be able to tap into your creativity and your imaginations. Some of the world's greatest inventions and innovations came out of people literally sitting under the tree, the apple tree. It hits his head. I'm sure you know the scientist. And he thought about the concept of gravity. So if you don't allow yourself to sit idle, and let me just backtrack. Did you know that the word school comes from the Greek word school, which is spelled schule, if I'm not mistaken. And it translated to leisure, idleness, having nothing to do. So the concept of school was to put a group of people in a space and give them nothing to do so that it will help them to invent, to innovate, to create, and to imagine. So all that you're searching for is in your idleness. All that you're searching for is in that space of time where you have nothing to do. And recently I was having a conversation with somebody and I said, when you drop a rock in a still water, you see the ripples, right? Right. In the same vein, when you have nothing to do and you are still and you are lying down or you're sitting or you're just daydreaming, all the thoughts and the ideas that come to you will have rippling effects on some of the problems you're facing, on the answers that you seek, etc., etc. So allow yourself to be bored. Allow your children to be bored. Because one, it will promote your creativity and imagination. Number two, self-awareness and introspection. Have you realized that when you have nothing to do, that's when you start remembering all the things that you've done that you shouldn't have done? It's like you just get to see a videotape of the things that you shouldn't have done, that you did, that you're sorry to have done, and then you promise yourself not to do it anymore. Boredom brings that to you. So self-introspection, self-awareness, all these are sharpened by your ability to be bored and have nothing to do. If you're consistently doing things, you will never get the chance to think. You will never get the chance to ideate and brainstorm with yourself. So that's number two. Number three, rest and relaxation. Sometimes the only reason why you have to embrace boredom is for you to relax. Trust me, I have a journal, and the quote on that journal says, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to not do anything. Or the most productive thing you can do is to do nothing. Sometimes boredom is what your soul is looking for. And I'll give you an example. Do you remember that a lot of artists, a lot of movies, a lot of news shows, a lot of Instagram Live, a lot of new books were created during COVID? In 2020, a lot of people had breakthroughs. Do you know why? Because for once in a year or in a couple of months, all of us had nothing to do. And guess what that boredom did to us? Most people got inspired to be creative. A lot of new songs, new artists. Thames started recording in 2020. She had started before, but since the pandemic began, one, she was home. There was nothing to do with her life, just like most of us. And so she began to think and she started creating great music. So many movies came about. A lot of social media influencers were birthed during COVID-19 because all of us were bored. Most of us were home and there was nothing to do. So God, in his infinite wisdom, started, you could now hear your inner voice, and you could also listen to yourself and write down the notes. Okay, I'll do that so you can rewatch later. So allow yourself to be bored. Allow your children to be bored, because that is where your genius lies. If you look at some of the most brilliant people in the world, they don't have much to do. They don't clad their lives with a lot of activities. Even God rested on the seventh day. And sometimes rest is not you sleeping. Rest means have nothing to do. Rest means just sit down and do nothing. Don't watch television. Don't listen to anything. Don't be consistently on your phone. Have zero stimulation. And that's where your genius lies. Seriously. So boredom, I have said, is good to inspire creativity and your imagination. Boredom helps you to rest and relax. Boredom helps you to be self-aware and do some self-introspection. Boredom allows you to have mental clarity. That's point number 4. If you think you have so much going on and you're confused and you need to make a decision, the best antidote for that is for you to stop doing all that you're doing and just be. Don't move, don't think, don't read, don't watch, don't ask for advice. Just be still. Have nothing to do, and all the answers you seek will come to you. I promise. You see that box over there? It reads book bug. And I conceived this idea in 2020 during COVID season when we were all bored at home. And the idea came to me when I started doing the bedtime stories with Miss P. And a lot of parents were saying, oh, Miss Precious, when you're not reading, my children have nothing to do. So the idea dropped in my head one morning. And I said, how do I get books to children so their parents can read for them when I am not reading? And it came out of me lying in my couch doing nothing. Say no to your friends always asking you to, let's go, it's Friday night, let's go and chill. Maybe your Friday night boredom is what's going to help you start that business that you've been looking forward to start. Maybe that's not doing anything just this Friday. I throw a challenge to you. Today is Friday. And it's quite interesting that we're talking about boredom, because when it's weekend that we're supposed to allow ourselves to be bored because we've been working the entire week, that's when we also overstimulate ourselves. And there's no space in your life for any inspiration to penetrate, which is my final point. Boredom allows you to be inspired. Don't always have an activity that you're doing. Sometimes I say to myself, and I love to read a lot, sometimes I decide not to read. I decide to stop listening to music. I just stay and be still. And that's where a lot of your genius lies. So I'll go over it again. Why boredom is good for you and your kids. 1, it helps to inspire your creativity and imagination. If you want to be creative, if you want to really tap into your imagination, daydream, do nothing, be nothing, just sit still and allow yourself to be bored. And you will have a lot of answers to the questions that you seek. Number 2, boredom helps you to do self-introspection and helps you to become self-aware. Sometimes through your boredom, that's when you know that you really don't actually like social media as much as you thought you did. Maybe just sitting around is your hobby. So self-awareness, self-introspection is another thing. That's number 2. Number 3, boredom helps you to rest and relax. You will get the opportunity to be free, to rest your body, to rest your mind, especially. So rest and relaxation is a third point. Number 4, boredom helps you to have mental clarity, to really remove the chaff in your life and to remove the chaff in your brain. All the things that you're thinking about that are not good for your soul, you can remove them when you're bored. And finally, boredom helps you to regroup, rethink, and tap into your genius. All of the answers you seek are not external. They are here. They are in your heart and in your mind. But if you are always like this, if you're always in motion, and you're not still, you will never be able to tap into all these benefits that I tell you about. I am always bored. Not always bored, but I'm trying to let you know that I am bored at least 60% of the time. And being bored 60% of the time allows me to be creative and imaginative. And honestly, it saves me from wasting time. We only have, if we're lucky, 80 years to live. As I said in the earlier live, I am 31. I have about 49 years to live. I need to do a lot of things before I go to heaven. And I cannot allow a lot of distractions to be in my life. And when people actually know that you enjoy your boredom and your solitude, they leave you alone. However, there's a caveat. I'm not saying you should spend all your years in boredom, because otherwise you're going to have chronic depression and you're going to be frustrated and your life will just be dry and crusty. You need to have balance. There's a word I love to use: moderation. Everything good can become bad if you don't do it in moderation. So although I'm saying boredom is good, you need to balance it. Like tonight, I am on my way to go and chill. Okay? I will be dancing, but I won't tell you where I'll be, just in case you plan to film me and let me go viral. But